Dear guests from Germany, Hungary, from other foreign chambers for trade and commerce, Ms. Seeger, we are very happy to be able to meet you all in the framework of such an event. We have a series of such events and discussions, and it's now the fifth time that this event is taking place, DUIHK in discussions, an interview with special guests, and today we have a very special interview, an exclusive interview with the representative of Mercedes-Benz, who is responsible for marketing and sales. And we are very happy that she could make it and accept our invitation to this discussion today. Just as a technical detail on my side, you can select the languages at the bottom of your bar and Zoom. You can select between German and English, and please feel free to share your questions via the chat on the platform. The industry, the automotive industry is of great importance for Hungary and Germany as well, and it will still remain in focus in Hungary in the future. This is why we're very much looking forward to the discussion with Britta Seeger, who is a member of the board of management of mm, Daimler AG, and she's also member of the board of Mercedes-Benz AG and also a member of the supervisory board of Daimler Mobility AG. In Mercedes-Benz, she's responsible for marketing and sales. Daimler AG is one of the most important providers for cars and car manufacturer, and I'm also happy to say that Daimler is one of our best customers or partners actually in this framework. Britta Seeger has been a member of the board of management of Daimler AG since January 1st, 2017. And in this function, she's responsible for Mercedes-Benz Cars marketing and sales. She was she's started her career with Mercedes in '92, and she has vast experience in this field, and she had various positions within the European trade and marketing until later on, and then she got many different positions in the framework of business tasks, and she also became a leading personality within Daimler AG, and she became responsible for product management for Mercedes-Benz. And then she took the position of a director for service operations and service sales, and then sales and marketing parts. So she actually had an insight in all of the business areas of Daimler AG. And then she continued her career abroad. From 2013 to 15, she was president and CEO from Mercedes-Benz Korea and Daimler Trucks Korea in Seoul, South Korea. And after, for a year, she was president and CEO for Mercedes-Benz Türk AG in Istanbul. She was responsible for the production and the sales of cars in Turkey. And now she is board of management of Daimler AG. And we are now very happy that we are able to have this interview with Ms. Seeger. So I'm sure we will have some important and interesting insights. We would like to start this discussion with a short video by our Managing Director, Barbara Zollmann.
Der Fahrzeugbau ist in Deutschland und in Ungarn gleichermaßen der bedeutendste Industriezweig.
The manufacturing of cars is very important for Hungary and Germany as well. And it is very important for the processing industry. So this is a branch in the economy which is crucial for both of the countries. Hungary has very long tradition of the automotive industry. About 100,000 employees work in 700 companies, and they are responsible for about 5% of the GDP of the country. And indirect service providers and suppliers are not even taken into account here. Foreign investors play a dominant role in the Hungarian automotive industry, and there are many German companies present that are responsible for 40% of the employees and 60% of the production. And Hungary is a very important production site, the fourth important for the German automotive industry. And they play a crucial role in the supply chains for the German manufacturers. And we can say that also in the foreign trade, that the fourth of the overall bilateral trade is actually due to the automotive industry. And Hungary exports double as much parts as it is actually importing from Germany. Thank you very much. I'll take over at this point, and I would like to welcome all of you as well. And I would like to welcome Britta and all our guests that are following this discussion online. There is a second chair where you would have been invited to participate at this interview, but we are going to discuss online. First of all, let me congratulate for your award that you just had as an award for the Fabulous Five of female board members in Germany. I would like to congratulate to that. So what does it mean to you to have this award? How did I get it? I had a call and then I was asked whether I could have some time at this date and that I would be awarded a prize, the Fabulous Five. I'm really happy to have received this, not only because of my own person, but I take it as a sign and a feedback for everything that we actually work for. So this female five to make sure that we have um, as many female representatives in the board as possible. So this is a prize that I was happy to take, but I think this is also a recognition of our performance and of our achievements in the field of diversity within our company. This is a very interesting concept, of course, to visualize all this. And yeah, and our colleagues in the board found this very interesting. And we're really looking forward to meeting for the first time as the female five next year. And I think this is really great that we are able to unite five young people in this board and that we actually can group young talents around us and introduce them into the business. I think this is a very good thing, and I'm really curious to know how it will all develop. So we heard that you became member of the management board in 2017 for Daimler AG and Mercedes-Benz AG. Can you give us an insight of your responsibilities with this role and what is your focus within this role? The responsibility for sales and marketing involves actually all relevant P's in marketing product. So in the early phase, the product development, sales and marketing, we take into account all of the requirements by the customers, the trends that we observe in the world. So we involve and include all of this in the early development before you even see our cars on the market. So this is our product management activity and everything that is connected to P as product. And then the vehicles come to the market, and P is now pricing. And here we are responsible of the promotion of these products. And of course, this includes all of the vehicles, Mercedes vehicles. And let's not forget when we hand over the vehicles to our customers, here we have another responsibility in the after sales area. And this is what I've been doing for a very long time as well. So for repairs in workshops worldwide to make parts available. And then there is also the operational work together with our worldwide markets, over 90 markets over the world, and sales companies. So to be able to deliver these vehicles to the market from a logistics point of view. And of course, these are all responsibilities to select the right partners, to make sure we provide the right service and the right performance, because these are going to be our contacts that will deliver the vehicles to our customers. And then, of course, the maintenance of these vehicles. Um, so um, the automotive world has changed a lot since the first time you have been employed at Mercedes in Stuttgart for the first time. What was the most important? I think we can all see this change clearly in all of the regions. And now the question about the sustainable mobility for the future is the most important thing in focus about the plug-in hybrids and the further development of the engines to reach a CO2 free mobility. So these are going to be a game changer, and these are discussions that we need to have also within the automotive industry. And I think this is going to be an incredible transformation, and all of the enhanced automotive solutions that we are offering today are part of this major transformation. On the other hand, and this, of course, affects my responsibility as well, that the customer behavior changes as well, not only the demand for alternative engines, but also digitalization within the vehicle itself, digitalization in life, in entering into contact with one another. If you want to buy your car online, how me as a customer would like to be addressed. So this belongs into the field of marketing. So there are so many requirements that come from the customers, and it's so much different as compared to 10 years ago. And these two aspects also need the right technology. And so the right technology, and to make sure digitalization is given, because these are the requirements that we actually experience from the customers. So these are the two game changers that we actually see from our customers and in our world. We also heard recently that the road for Mercedes-Benz is going towards electric mobility. And this, of course, has some repercussions for your area. So what does it currently look like in the field of engine? In July this year, we have announced that we would use the experience and of course, apply the regulations from all over the world, and also the feedback from the customers, but also in China, people deal with these questions currently. So we saw, based on the developments of the past month, that we are becoming from an electric first company, um, where all of the new cars are considered and developed from an electric perspective. We will switch from 25 on. All architectures that we will bring into market, we will introduce them as electric only options. So this is going to be our development goal. So our concepts regarding the design of cars will change, because from 25 on we will only provide electric solutions. This was a very significant decision, and our idea behind it is that we will not we are also participating in COP26 to take into account the decisions taken there, and we would like to take all of this into account. So this is why we're considering electric only, and this is going to be our response to the issues of sustainability. And what does it mean? This was your question. We have always recognized that for all of the market participants, stakeholders, for anyone um, who are, for example, responsible for the provision of electricity so that we can have green energy. All of these components need to be taken into account. And of course, there are many questions that we cannot yet answer at COP26. But of course, uh, there are cars that are still on the market and that can have combustors. And for 2030, we will make sure that we will only have electric vehicles. And this will, of course, accelerate our internet transformation and all that's connected. And another question maybe is this action according to as a result of the pressure from the market, because there are always doubts regarding e-mobility, if that is really so climate neutral and sustainable, regarding all of the effects from cradle to brave. So this means the overall transformation process. But I would like to highlight three components which we need to work to become more sustainable. We need to provide attractive products that only use green steel, recycled materials, and of course sustainable engine solutions. Um, Innovation, using less and less resources. So all of these things we need to achieve within the product design and manufacturing, and to make sure uh, we have e-mobility assured for a long run. The infrastructure in this regard needs to be developed so that customers can really make that change themselves. And the third thing is that we need green energy, sustainable energy. And I agree with you, Barbara, as long as we don't manage to have green energy and we use brown coal to have energy, then the production of an e-vehicle might be less sustainable than a regular vehicle, actually. So here we still have challenges to resolve so that we can have a sustainability on the long run, indeed. And I think research sees it more and more clearly when it comes to alternatives in the field of synthetic fuels, and that even this requires a lot of energy. So, so we need to have enough green electricity, and only if this is secured, we will be able to take the track of real sustainability. Yes, I think there's still so much to say about this, but I would also like to ask more questions, and I would like to encourage our audience as well to ask their questions or to ask these questions via the chat, because we can discuss them later on. Mercedes-Benz AG is the only provider of e-vehicles currently, and there were new licenses where you actually were far further ahead of other providers. You asked also whether this was an externally induced change that we were actually performing here, but this is actually something that we have this desire for this sustainable mobility, and this is something that of course exists in the markets, and we are trying to create the offer for the customers, so that the customers have a selection from which they can choose. And for us as a Mercedes brand, this is a response that we would like to provide at this question. And of course, our customers would like to see from us what we think and how we react to this situation. And this is always an impetus for us in marketing, and this have to give us wings to fly, and we should be able to develop the right vehicles for this. And this is why it matches our new commitment from this July very well, because we believe in this change and transformation. This is why Mercedes will become an electric only company from 2025 on. Um, uh, so um, we had a new kind of concept that was introduced in Munich regarding the mobility offers, so that this can actually be lived on the streets, not only in the exposition halls. How did you like this concept? I would like to answer independently of Mercedes, because for us, as the representative in Germany, overall, as so not only for automotive manufacturers, but it was also involving the suppliers. It was great to see that we can see worldwide that the fairs, the expositions cannot take place in the old way anymore. So for in 2019, we decided, or we thought about how we would actually address customers next time and in the future, and how would we provide a new kind of mobility and sustainable mobility, because we need to um, make it attractive for the customers. And yes, like you said, we need to um, leave the fair halls. And customers said the following: yes, we still need this kind of fair concept, but it has to be more concise, more smaller, target oriented, with a very simple audience. And we said we needed something to meet the people. So we discussed with Munich, with the city of Munich, how to address people, how to meet people. We wanted to go there where the people are, and we didn't want the people to look for us. So this is why in Munich, we opened our doors, and we only required a COVID test, but we opened our doors for the public, so that people could come and see us. And it was really fantastic to see how people were interested. If I look at our results, I think this could have never been achieved in a fair hall. So this things, what you need to have a wall box, how these are produced and manufactured and all that. These questions could be answered, and all of these questions that people needed to have answered in order to be able to change and switch to more alternative solutions. And we wanted to make people passionate about these new solutions and make it more attractive to them. And the people that wanted to visit us, we wanted to have them experience this. And this is how we had in a connection between the fair halls and the inner city of Munich, where the customers could easily use cars to travel from point A to B. And this experience and this easy accessibility again had the result of an intensive conversation about sustainability, about the experience, about how to make people passionate about these solutions. So if I was to say a final evaluation, of course, there was, of course, protestation against it, but I think in the end of the day, we had a very positive feedback and results. And this also came to show that we can have a new idea of having a fair in Germany. So with our umbrella organization, we had a discussion with VDA, and this was a different perspective. And I think that will be also interesting to hear that. But you as a manufacturer and a participant at the exposition, it was a great experience to further develop this kind of setup. Yeah, of course, we learned a lot from that. And did you see criticism as well? Of course, not only friends of cars or vehicles. And if you said you learned things from this experience, what kind of learnings, what kind of lessons did you learn? We learned from these discussions that there is some underrated uncertainty among the customers about the signification of this e-mobility, about how it works, how expensive it is, how the life cycle, how long of these products is. So those that are interested in the cars had these questions, and here we saw that um, those that are thinking about the transformation, they need a very intense support. And of course, we could also say that I don't want to have a car, but I would like to have a mobility budget. So alternative forms of mobility. This is also an important topic. And beyond that, of course, there are still critics that want none of the available solutions. And then sometimes they're more constructive, sometimes they're less in these discussions. Of course, there are other topics that move you, chip scarcity that affected the automotive industry, but of course many other areas. Customers also realize they need to change their purchasing behavior, that they sometimes are forced to wait for the products to arrive. So how do you deal with these bottlenecks that you're currently experiencing? There is always agility that's needed, and what we currently see that there's a lack of transparency in the value chain, and what we also experience that we have to react on short notice, and this goes for tier one, but also further on in the chain. And we have various external events as well. So the entire chip crisis has been present with us throughout the year, and in many countries that are many important for the chip production are also affected. And for example, we try to buy sports shoes from Vienna, for example, but since Vietnam is not producing, it's a problem sometimes. So, and then we need to work together in this field with the chip manufacturers so that we can create more transparency. And what we currently see, and this is also something that we saw in an interview yesterday, that we either have to provide for an extra capacity, but it's sometimes longer waiting time than setting up a new line for batteries. And of course, there are other external factors. COVID is affecting not only Germany, but other countries. And some people speak of the fifth wave even. So we need to be prepared for that, to be able to react on a short notice and be agile. And we actually assume that by next summer and even beyond, we can, of course, react to that. And of course, good allocation of the resources. Yes, this is not where we can have an influence all the time, but tier one is provides suppliers are very important, of course, and this is why we have to work very closely with them. Completely different question. Interbrand agency has called Mercedes-Benz as a very special company within Europe, as a very strong brand. And what does this mean for you as to be a strong brand? So for us, it's very important, but it's also very important for the customers. I think brands have an effect on our actions, and they give us an orientation. And we are very proud that for the fourth time in a row, we have been on the top of the list of Interbrand. And this is also a proof of excellency of our work. And this is very important to us, because I said that brands give us enough orientation to the customers as well. And I think these days it's even more important, because the classic corridors to our clients are closed these days, and the behaviors for sharing information and consumption in general is changing. So the communication to customers changes, and the way we used to have it is over in many countries, and we need to be able to speak to customers in situations where they don't expect these discussions.
Also zum Beispiel.
Also Konsumenten begegnen dort, wo
As an
sie
example, maybe, so as an example, if I take you, for example, you read an article on the internet, and I try to understand your interests, not necessarily what you read in the article, but about your traces in the internet without even knowing you. And we're trying to create a profile about you based on various information. And where we have this analytics, and this is, of course, the no different from what we do worldwide with the company. And we would like to send you messages that are relevant for you. Otherwise, if it wasn't relevant, you would probably just swipe this message off your screen, and we then in that case wouldn't have been successful in our job. So I think this is very important. And then there are topics where we need to have a strong position as a brand, where expectations are high towards us. Like I said, brands have an effect on our orientation, sometimes on our values, and it becomes more and more important to have a strong position here. And we spoke about sustainability before. We need to make our position clear in this area. We need to provide orientation for our customers. They're interested in us, and they're interested to know what Mercedes can provide them, what they can rely on with Mercedes. And this is brand development, and this is a work that affects the brand image as well. I'm not a specialist in this area, and I understand what you say. And this leads me to my next question. How do you see the future? There was a LinkedIn video from you. And is this something you would like to repeat in the future regularly in the at the traders? For us at Mercedes, we have two commitments which are very important. One of the commitment is the more digital our world is becoming, the more important physical contact and relation to our customers will be, and the contact to our brand as Mercedes at the trader's house. So, and then the second point is attached actually to this commitment, what these car sellers will look like in the future. Will this be similar to what we have today? I think they will undergo an important transformation. So I think brands have to be lived there where customers are. So Mercedes and Daimler AG will have to go there where the customers are. We need to make ourselves available for the customers. We need to get in touch with the customers. So this is what we see for Mercedes. We are convinced that the personal experience of the brand is essential for the future. This will stay with us. But there's a second aspect, and we clearly see that as well. For customers and also for luxury customers, we see that they need and expect an additional commitment. These promises, they are not restricted in time, in space, but they want to experience something, and this is what digital space comes into play. They want to experience something without being forced to do various things. So these are the two components, the digital experience together with that personal aspect. I think this is the omni-channel experience that we have to talk about, and we have to see that the customers are moving and jumping between these two worlds all the time. And we can see that the customers in the future, if they have a simplified digital experience, I think we assume that more and more customers will buy their cars in a digital way. Maybe before that they went to the traders and to the sellers, but they will still buy the cars online. We saw that before COVID already, and maybe after COVID it will be more important, and I think this trend will just accelerate, and this is also due to COVID. And as we were in a lockdown worldwide, we had no services in the sellers departments and houses, and people still were interested to buy cars. We had the only option to go digital, and the customer that once had a positive experience will not necessarily go back to the classic, sometimes lengthy, personal face-to-face process. So this is something that we need to further develop. And I would like to go a bit further forward, because you mentioned the topic of Green Deal, and this moves many companies. Can you explain more about this, what you currently do in your company in this area to prepare Green Deal and to meet the requirements that it actually sets? I spoke earlier about the product, what happens to the product, and I think this is very important. And it's not only about the batteries and ERTS as an electric engine, but how do we reduce CO2, how we achieve that with all of our suppliers, how we get the right agreements with them to be able to make all of the parts of the car sustainable. All suppliers know these requirements, and they also know that we need to go down this road together. So Green Deal is going to be a major challenge for all of us, and we're discussing all together how we can involve recycled materials more in the manufacturing of our cars, and about possibilities. And we'll have a workshop on this tomorrow to involve other materials that might actually be regrown locally. So this all belongs to the product and the materials that we use for them. And then the production footprint worldwide, where we need to make sure that we use less water, that we save our resources. And the last part of the change, the third one, is there where we sell the products. We have a clear commitment in this regard with our retail distribution to become CO2 or carbon neutral, and to provide and to get green energy. And all vehicles, battery electric vehicles, can be produced with green regenerative electricity in Europe and the US, because in China we're currently still working on this, but there is none of the steps that we don't in this process which we wouldn't look into and reflect on how we could contribute to these desired results. And this is why we are in continuous discussion with our suppliers. And I think we're all conscious that this is really a major challenge that we're facing. We're leading open discussions with our partners, and even though we haven't found all of the answers we need, the commitment and the effort is there. Question is how fast we can actually clarify all of these questions, and secondly, what it means as a result for the whole transformation, jobs, rescaling of employees, what it means for the various manufacturing sites. So these are the additional questions that come up when we evaluate this value chain, and not all of the responses are given yet. I think also of topics like supply bottlenecks and sustainability in general. So of course, this is also part of our reflections. My colleagues are working intensively on the evaluation of such questions. COVID, the current situation is of course affecting us, and this will be present in our discussions for the near future. Magnesium and all these questions. This is something that moves us all. Questions are there, and how good we can deliver our responses. Of course, it's not only depending on Mercedes, but we have to work together on this. And I spoke with a company from a completely different branch, and here we had the question whether Green Deal will have the result to put a lot of responsibilities actually on the shoulders of the suppliers, so that they can deliver a Green Deal conform products. What do you think about this as a manufacturer? Would you like to comment on this? I think everyone has an impression regarding Green Deal. I can even understand this stance, but we too, when we saw all of these carbon provisions, we thought about how we should deal with that. But many stakeholders still don't know how to achieve the required results. We work for the best possible results. Like I said, not all the solutions are clear yet. We are waiting for the end of COP26 also to provide us new instructions. But I think as an OEM, we shouldn't lean back and just rely on the suppliers to provide right solutions. Yes. Actually, our time is almost over, and we will allow the audience to ask their questions. I'm not sure what kind of questions we still have, but I would like to address two questions before we address the other questions from the audience. We know each other from Korea, and this was, I think, already obvious from your CV, as it has been introduced earlier. And I wanted to know what you brought from Asia, what you can use from this experience in your work as as a member of management board. I think if you learned one thing we learned, Bali, fast or quick was actually a motto that we all learned. And it was also the openness towards new technologies that we have acquired. But if I look at Germany, where maybe Germany still needs to catch up, and enthusiasm, this was great to see. A different setting in society that wants to grow, that wants to achieve things, and maybe different from our country. I cannot speak for Hungary, for other countries, but for countries that have already achieved a certain level of welfare, and this is also this enthusiasm, that something that I saw in Turkey as well. And I think these countries can really add a lot of value. So I have this experience as well. And in Hungary, there are many companies from Korea, and I think they will also enrich the market, and also in mobility, engine production. So I think this is also important and interesting for your aspect as well. My last question, women in economy. I think this is inevitable since we're discussing together today. There are more and more provisions to provide for higher gender diversity. But I would like to ask you, what is your opinion or experience why at the end of the day there are still less women in responsible positions than as it would actually be possible? So first of all, I think it's much better by now, but we still have a long way to go. From my personal perception, there are various reasons why we're still not yet there where we would like to actually be. And this might be connected to the fact that in various jobs and job images, women are underrepresented. My daughter, for example, just started a studies in technology, environmental technologies, and out of all of the students, there are only 2 female students. I think this is on the 1%. So in certain branches, the equal chances are, of course, not really given. And the second thing, overall, we need to make sure that we want to achieve it ourselves, because this is an enormous work. We need to look for talent, international talent. We have to look for women talents, and we have to work for this every day. And we need to be convinced that diverse teams, we're speaking of gender diversity, but there are also other forms of diversity that are equally important. I think we need to recognize the added value that is actually provided by diversity. And this also comes from men and women working together. And I was diverse in myself during my career, and I've worked in diverse teams, and I think this brings a huge benefit. But still, when there is a mass that still doesn't move and remains idle, and this is why we have to try to make them more enthusiastic towards these values, and we need to take them along on this journey. Yes, I think as well. I think we're all on this road together, and we also have a project that's called Tech Chicks in English. And this is also where we would like to give an insight of the technological professions for girls. So thank you very much for this interview. I had a lot of fun. Thank you very much. And so there are many questions that we could have actually asked. We didn't manage. But I would like to introduce Dirk Wölfer, who collected the questions for us from the audience, and then we'll discuss these. We have about 4 further minutes if you can still stay with us to answer these questions. Okay, good afternoon. We have 2 questions in the chat that are actually connected with the topics that we have discussed earlier. So there are 2 questions that are connected. E-mobility. This is, of course, not without concerns here. Is there a plan B for Daimler for the case if e-mobility is not the right track, if hydrogen or synthetic fuel could play a role here? And in this context, you also spoke about cradle to grave, and how do you deal and manage waste and batteries in this regard? And maybe I'll start with the last question.
Denken für die Batterie funktioniert folgendermaßen.
Our current thinking regarding the batteries is that the most important thing is, if the battery was broken, we should first analyze if it can be repaired, and if yes, then it would be introduced into a remanufacturing process, and then we would also be able to reintroduce it back into a circle. And if the batteries are too old, they cannot be manufactured, that would be the second life cycle that would be actually started. They could be used as a local electricity storage equipment. We have our own activities at our sites, and actually we are just about to identify partners that could actually use these solutions with us. And if these batteries can't not be used for this purpose anymore, then the first grade of recycling could come into play. And the question about how we could actually take out and remove all of the valuable materials from the batteries. So all of the car manufacturers are facing these challenges, and we're currently working all of these activities across the sites. and this is an intense work, and we have this closed loop system and circular economy. So all is set up for remanufacturing and second use, second life. And we invest a lot into recycling, and we also have a clear commitment for circular economy. So first topic, the question about what plan B we actually have. And this is a very valid and very good question, because um, um, for the fuel part, it's still not clear how the energy needs for the green orientation would be provided for, and whether we would use synthetic fuel solutions. So fuel cells, in this regard, we are also pioneers in the application of fuel technology for personal vehicles. We don't see short-term chance, because the technologies in this regard are too expensive. But what we see, and we do have these activities, our truck colleagues see the same challenge to become carbon neutral in their supply, to provide for mobility for trucks. And there we don't have a response with the batteries for the long tracks, because they would be actually too large and would require too many raw materials. So we are convinced, and we actually work together with Volvo here, but Mercedes trucks and Volvo work on the joint technology for trucks, for long tracks as well, to have a solution for the short run as well. And also for the innovation, we would like to take into account personal cars to make it available for these kinds of cars as well. Thank you very much. We had the opportunity to ask questions ahead of the interview, and we had also a question from North Macedonia regarding Teslas. This is a topic we hear about a lot, and they're pioneer in technology, and the market value of Tesla is larger than that of the largest German companies. Now, the question whether Daimler would like to catch up here, and is it possible that the three couldn't the German manufacturers not create an alliance, for example, in the field of software? Okay, so as regards the first question regarding our strategy, I think you would like to hear more about the product strategy than about market capitalization. So we launched electric vehicles, and next year we will go on with that, with electric SUVs, to respond to these topics. And this is our task, to make these products available for our customers. This is our core duty, and this is an area where we work very hard on. And until the end of next year, 2022, we will provide an electric vehicle in all of our car classes or ranges. This is what we do. I think with the vehicles that we have launched, we have proven that we are very competitive, and we have very good feedback about which we are very happy. And this is the road we are going to continue to go. Thank you very much. We know that you have a next appointment in a few minutes, but maybe a general question to finish up about the automotive industries regarding the mobility service providers. How good do you see your position for providing new mobility solutions to your customers, also beyond the car manufacturing? I don't know if you know that, but together with BMW, we have a joint venture to provide for car sharing in many places in Europe. And beyond this, we also provide a platform, Free Now. We learn a lot in this market, and it's highly interesting to see the development of the past 2-3 years, where we speak a lot about shared mobilities, car sharing, but we see a renaissance of the own cars, of the ownership, and we will see how we can find a sustainable solution here. And our colleagues from Wolfsburg also join us on this road. I think we as OEMs have important insights in this market currently, and we learn a lot of lessons. And I think it will be also interesting to see how our customers will see other sorts of mobility, so not only cars, and how they understand this and how they understand the development in the past. And we need to see that also ourselves and prepare for that. Thank you very much. There are still some open questions, but of course, we don't want to block you from going to your next obligation. Thank you very much, and I will pass the floor back to our Managing Director, Ms. Zollmann. Thank you very much, Britta, for the time that you have spent us and for this interview. It was really interesting to have this direct discussion with you and to hear more about you and your company. Thank you very much. And thank you to the audience who were with us from our office, but also from overall from Bulgaria, Croatia, Macedonia, Slovakia, and the Czech Republic, Germany, Hungary. So these are the countries that were represented here today. Thank you very much to all of you, to the members who are, of course, also invited to the next event about digital healthcare system tomorrow. With the event with our finance minister, Varga, and then Automotive Hungary. We will have a stand for our chamber, and we will also offer a professional forum. Greetings to Stuttgart, to you, Britta. Thank you very much for coming, and see you soon. Thank you very much. Bye.